and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to have a motion to approve the amended agenda.
I make a motion to approve the agenda. Second.
Amended agenda.
To amend the agenda? Oh. Yeah, I make a motion to approve the amended agenda. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Acceptance of the election results. Motion to accept the election results.
I make a motion that we accept the election results as posted.
I second one.
All in favor?
Aye.
So the appointed chairman for the oath of office administration is actually, that would be Dr. Wheeler. Can you guys hear me?
No, turn your mic up.
Sorry. We're going to appoint Dr. Wheeler to the oath of office and reorganization. Motion to do that.
I make the motion to appoint Dr. Wheeler as chairman for the administration of the oath of office and the election of the board president.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Chairman Sendai.
I make a motion to adjourn and send of the 2015-16 Board of Education.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, at this time, we'll move to reorganization of the board, item D. Before we do so, thank you guys again for joining us this evening. We're glad you're here. And it's exciting always to invite our new board members onto the board to join the fun. So this time, if Mr. Hughes and Mr. Bolton would come forward, we'll take an oath of office. We'll do it separately.
I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Missouri, and I will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of school director in and for the Knob-Nasher R8 School District, County of Johnson, State of Missouri, to the best of my ability, according to law.
Welcome.
Thank you.
I think your biggest fan is watch you do this. No pressure.
I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Missouri, and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of school director in and for the Knob-Nasher R8 School District, County of Johnson, State of Missouri, to the best of my ability, according to law.
Welcome, Tom and Larry.
Thank you.
So next up is item E, pursuant to policy BCB, the Board of Education shall elect a president and vice president at its organizational meeting. Vacancies in board officer positions shall be filled by holding another board election to fill the vacant positions. At this time, I'll call for nominations for the position of president of the Board of Education.
I make a motion that we nominate Mary Ann Matthews for board president.
Second.
Okay, so we'll take nominations and then we'll close nominations and then we'll take a vote on those who have been nominated. So I hear that Mrs. Matthews has been nominated as president of the board. Are there any other nominations? Okay, hearing none, we'll close nominations and we'll call for a vote for the office of president of the Board of Education. In the form of a motion.
Make a motion that we approve Mary Ann Matthews as board president.
I second the motion.
Okay, first by Mr. Pendilli, second by Mr. Birchie. Any comments or discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries 7-0. Congratulations, President Mary Ann Matthews. At this time, we'll turn the meeting back over to you for the election of vice president.
Okay, we need a motion to elect the vice president for the Board of Education.
I make a motion, we nominate Kelly Davis as board vice president.
I second the motion.
Are there any other nominations? Okay, it's closed. All in favor?
Aye.
Appointment of a board treasurer.
Make a motion, we appoint Paul Birchie as board treasurer.
Second.
Are there any other nominations? Okay, it's closed. All in favor?
Aye.
Appointment of the board secretary.
Make a motion, we appoint Cindy Johnston as board secretary.
I second the motion.
Are there any other nominations? Closed. All in favor?
Aye.
Then we can get down to business. Approval of the consent agenda.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I second the motion to approve the consent agenda.
Before we take that motion, I just wanted to point out a couple of things. In the consent agenda, we included the school start date, which is required by policy and law, and also information for upcoming graduation. So I just want to make sure that the board takes time to review that. And prior to graduation, we're going to ask that you guys show up a little bit early, as noted in the agenda, so that we can take professional pictures for the website.
Is there any other? Any additional comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Do we have any public comments? We have from Jerry Siegel. Thank you for the beautiful floral arrangement for Jerry's service. Thank you also for the many other expressions of sympathy and friendship, Sharon and family. Lightning report.
Good evening, everyone. First and foremost, we just finished our large spring exercise, Constant Vigilance. As usual, we were quite successful in executing our direction from higher headquarters. That has led into various other exercises that the community won't see as much of, not as much of the activities on base. Another interesting thing is as we were ramping up for that, we hosted high school students, leadership positions across the high school for a leadership forum that included tours of explosive ordnance disposal, B2, exposure to our Airman Leadership School curriculum, as well as a leadership luncheon where they sat with squadron commanders, chiefs, and senior leaders on the base for discussions about leadership. We really enjoyed hosting the students and believe that they had a good time. Finally, this summer is a big turnover in terms of leadership. Pretty much in order, although not exactly so. We'll change out our vice wing commander for the 509th. We'll get a new wing commander for the 131st, and then 3 or 4 of the 509th group commanders will change out, including myself. That concludes my report.
Thank you.
So when's your last meeting?
I don't know yet. I'm out in June, but I think I might be able to make a June meeting.
All right, principal and director's reports are as presented. MSBA report.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Missouri School Boards Association's board report for the month of April. We thank you for the opportunity to share some news and information during a few minutes of your board meeting. We begin with a look at efforts to provide mental health services to students in our state. Many students struggle with emotional and behavioral issues that affect their learning and the learning of others. A study by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services says as many as 1 in 5 children will experience significant mental health problems, and schools are often where those mental health issues are discovered. Yet many school districts do not have access to mental health professionals to provide students the help they need. MSBA is administering a grant from the Missouri Foundation for Health to support mental health services for students in 4 central Missouri school districts. Eric Hudson is a counselor at Fulton High School, and he says ignoring mental health issues is not an option.
We as mental health professionals in the building, we need to work intentionally with the kids, and I think that using screening information and identifying those kids and getting them the support that they need to be successful is critical for schools. Continuing to ignore it is not going to fix the problem. It's not going to go away. It's not there's not going to be a special teaching method that you're going to use that all of a sudden your kids that are affected are going to all of a sudden start to achieve. You have to identify those problems and deal with those problems and help those kids and those families deal with those problems in order for them to achieve to their highest ability.
The programs being developed in the 4 school districts are unique to each district's need. The goal is to develop mental health support models that can be adapted in other school districts throughout the state. An updated study by the Missouri Alliance for Arts Education shows a positive relationship between student participation in fine arts programs and student achievement in other academic areas, including performance on standardized test scores and attendance rates. Arts education was highlighted during the recent Fine Arts Education Day at the Capitol in Jefferson City. Students from school districts throughout the state had a chance to demonstrate their participation in vocal and instrumental music, dance groups, theatrical presentations, and other fine arts activities. Danny Bitter is a senior at Melville High School near St. Louis. He has become a national advocate for arts education following his support of a local ballot measure to build a new auditorium in Melville. He says the arts are an essential part of the school district's curriculum.
And the arts lets you be comfortable, whether you're on stage or you're backstage, you're lighting designing, you're sound designing, all of the components that go with it, it brings comfort and it brings confidence. And because of that confidence that the arts gives us, we're able to go into like a job interview very confident. We're able to do our job confidently. And I'm sure that's the number one thing that that jobs are looking for is confidence.
Cameron Wolford is a junior at Fort Zumwalt North High School. She and some classmates performed part of the Crucible during Fine Arts Education Day at the Capitol. And she says performing arts teach teamwork.
Because every single person has to pull their weight for the show to be what it could be. So it's a lot of teamwork, a lot of team building, and it's a lot of self-confidence, some real confidence booster. It helps with public speaking. There's so many benefits in being at our high school.
The Missouri Arts Education Alliance believes the arts should be recognized as a core component of the academic curriculum and urges school districts to strengthen the quality and availability of fine arts education. If you have just been elected to your local Board of Education, congratulations and welcome to school board service. One of the first things you'll want to do is complete the 16 hours of training required by state law and provided by MSBA. Half of the 16 hours can be completed online, with the other half provided at various locations in the state throughout the year. Visit the MSBA website for a complete schedule of training opportunities. There is no cost to participate in the required training. MSBA Spring Regional meeting in your area of the state. Those meetings will be held in April and May and will feature a presentation on the new Every Student Succeeds Act. Also, mark your calendar for the annual MSBA Leadership Summit to be held June 4th and 5th at the Lake of the Ozarks. Registration information for that event is posted on the MSBA website. That's it for this month's edition of the MSBA Board Report. Thanks for allowing us to have some time at your board meeting, and so long from Columbia.
So just to follow up on a couple of things, the MSBA Fall Conference is obviously a great opportunity for professional development and training for board members. Later in the agenda, we're going to speak to attendance at the local spring meeting that's coming up. So a couple of things, and our administrative team has submitted to present on a couple of different items at that conference. So if you do attend, maybe if we're accepted to come and give us at least some audience participation. To the point of the report from MSBA regarding student mental health and wellness, I want to comment that today we did welcome in our 2 new Inflect counselors, and they're beginning immediately with plans to continue their service through the next year. We appreciate the support. It's been a long road, and recently there was a second effort to get them here, and that happened. So thank you, and we appreciate that. We're very forward to partnering with those 2 important assets for our district.
Superintendent's report.
So as you know, map testing is underway. I said all seems to be going smoothly. That might be a little optimistic. We've had a few glitches with just registrations, and we found out that that's at the state level, but our team has done a good job, and Mr. Davis and team have responded to that in a very positive way. So with the absence of those couple of glitches, things seem to be going very, very well. We have a lot of energy and excitement with our students leading into this week, especially in the elementary schools. So we appreciate the principals for getting your students pumped up for map testing. April is the month of the military child. Among other activities, we celebrated with the Purple Up Day last Friday. So we were excited about that. As mentioned, graduation is just around the corner. Board members, please see details for that day in your consent agenda. Hiring season is moving along smoothly. Following tonight's meeting, we will have filled most regular education vacancies, but we still have a number of special services positions to fill. We are currently pursuing a DoD grant, which will include efforts to enhance space, school relations, and student academic achievement. That is due the first week of May, and Dr. Rolfson is partnering with Pat Gilman, myself, and others to present that. That is a grant that we have pursued in the past, so it's a second chance to go after those funds to support our students. Attendance, enrollment, Knob Noster Elementary, 385, Knob Noster Middle School, 459, Donmaster High School 304, Whiteman Elementary 340, for a district total of 1488. Percentage attendance, KNE 93.21, KNMS 96.20, KNHS 95.29, Whiteman 95.34, for an overall average of 95.01. So again, congratulations to middle school for a job well done, especially with the most number of students. So keep up the good work, and all of you keep up the great work. What does she do to bribe them? I think it's her charming personality and smile, but that can't be it because all of our principals have that.
It is the candy in the office.
Financial reports for the month ending balances for all funds, $12,110,423. Revenues to date, $12,150,109, which is 78% of anticipated, and expenditures, $9,748,286, which is 62.4% of budgeted. On the technology front, the new desktops are up and running well for testing. We've received a lot of positive feedback on these machines, and again, we want to thank Mr. Davis and our tech department for a job well done. Teacher units will be installed over the summer. Tomorrow morning, we'll hold our final transportation safety meeting of the year. We will focus on additional protocols for pre- and post-trip inspections, bus clearing, and the new safety buzzer system, which was installed on all buses last month. Legislatively speaking, there are 4 weeks left in the 2016 legislative session. House Bill 2002 calls for $70 million towards the foundation formula. A portion of that allocation is being shifted from general revenue sources to lottery revenues as a result of the January windfalls. This is of concern because of the instability of the lottery funds. So we are lobbying to get that money again pulled from general revenues. Regarding the January lottery funds, we do anticipate at the end of fiscal year 16 that we'll have a slight increase in funding as a result of those funds. So that will be an upward movement on our state adequacy target. So that's good news, and we'll report on that once that finalizes. House Bill 2379 has been perfected and passed by the House and now moves to the Senate. This bill requires screening and classroom accommodations for students with dyslexia. At this time, we have scheduled a group of teachers to attend training this summer in preparation for this new mandate. The Education Omnibus Bill, House Bill 161. This bill focuses on personal plans of study for students. Among many amendments, Amendment number 7 to that bill provides flexibility to remove a minimum number of required attendance days and simply calls for the minimum requirement of 1,044 hours. And I mentioned this specifically. It's a significant interest because of the way our calendar falls this year. We've discussed in the process of finalizing the calendar for vote that we are, like Orangeburg, like Sedalia, we're bumping that Memorial Day date pretty closely. And if we have any snow days, that will be of concern. So we're watching that bill carefully to see if that provides any flexibility. And additionally, in that omnibus bill, the additional amendment includes a dyslexia task force, Braille instruction, and suicide prevention. So we're lining up for all of those components. Also included in my agenda item is the legislative bulletin, which is uploaded for your full review. And that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Will. Historic student and attendant membership report.
Again, that's provided just for information for the board as was initiated last month.
Approval of bills requiring extension.
Make a motion to approve the bills requiring extensions.
I second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Any opposed? Any abstain? 2 abstains. Approval of bills.
Make a motion to approve the bills as presented.
I second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
New student enrollment procedures.
At this time, we would welcome our high school counselors up. Last month, we did a briefing touched on enrollment procedures, and we asked if they come and present in greater detail this month. So I want to say thank you, and the floor is yours.
Hold the red button for about 2 seconds.
I don't think the microphone was for 2 seconds, please.
Testing 1, 2.
Typical tech help. Thank you for the opportunity to get back. I believe this is in everybody's package, so they've had a chance to look at it. So I'll be brief. The enrollment process, and this is from a high school perspective, not necessarily a district. As people come into the area, they can request an enrollment package from our high school secretary. Ms. Wesley and I are working to have that package available online now. So students that are looking at us from afar can have access to that and download it and start that process there. It is on the website now. Complete enrollment package, when they come to us, they bring that into the high school, they'll turn it into our building secretary. Our secretary will, at that time, request official transcripts if they're transiting into the area. If they brought a package with them, typically some students, especially our military students, travel with a manila folder of sealed transcripts and that come into us, especially if they're coming from overseas. With those transcript records being still sealed, we can accept those as official and work on them. If they come in and the seals have been broken, we will review those transcripts and treat them as such, but we will still have to request records, official records from their previous school. The secretary then provides information to the grade-specific counselor. If they're sophomores and seniors or whatever grade they are, Ms. Wesley and I rotate with our students. So I have even year graduates and she has odd year graduates. So depending on her graduation date, depends on which counselor they have. Next slide, please. After we receive the packages, these are some of the things that we as counselors will do. We'll sit down and review all the courses taken on the student's transcript. We'll look through all of that. We will determine graduation requirements. Will the student graduate with requirements from their previous school or Master RA? Once again, some students, not just military, but some students come to us. They're mathematically not capable to graduate here, depending on what state they came from. If they reside in the state of Missouri graduation requirements, minimum requirements are 24. If you look around, even in our region, many schools have graduation requirements, credit requirements that are above 24. Warrensburg is 27, we're 26. We used to be 28. Clinton is 27. And various other schools, some have 25, and they all vary. The reason for the variance is it allows the ability with more credits for students to explore those careers and opportunities just beyond core classes it takes to graduate. The state identifies 24 particular credits to graduate. Master RA has 26 targeted, where our difference is made up in elective areas. Some states coming in, California, New Mexico, Arizona, graduate at 22 credits. If a senior is coming in here and he or she is on track to graduate at those schools and they come in here, they mathematically can't get to 26. So what we do is with the interstate compact, and just because of the enrollment
policy of the state allows for the opportunity as to personalize a graduation plan. We will look at what the requirements were for that particular state, compare them to where we are, see what classes that we can provide to ensure that they graduate and meet those state requirements, and we get them in those classes here. It is with the understanding then, and as you'll see here in a second, when we talk through this with the parents, we explain that to the parents. Your son or daughter is going to graduate with X number of credits based on the state that you came from or the school that you came from, because you mathematically can't get to 26. We're not going to pay, it sounds like punishment if we force that issue. So after we determine the course graduation requirements, we make sure that there are no special needs or educational concerns with them. And we will review all of the test scores that are in the package so we can kind of ensure that students are getting into the right classes. We contact we contact the family. We ask the family and the student to come in. Typically, if you were to bring us a package today, today's Tuesday, I say, give me a chance to review all of this. Can you be in here at 7:30 tomorrow morning? If I'm waiting for records, and it's significant that we have these records, because sometimes students do come to us and say, I'm here to enroll, we need to see records. Sometimes we've had students come into our district. Several years ago, we had one come in from Chicago who was on 6 months OSS. They were leaving Chicago, coming here, hoping to get their kids in school. Great thought, they were going to spend some time, and that was in the area, but still they were on OSS. We had to honor that OSS. And what was the cause of the OSS was a safe schools violation. So we couldn't bring them into the school in a timely manner. However, we did do things to help that student be prepared for school. So I think they were out of school 4 weeks. When they came to school, they were on track with the classes. They did some stuff out of school to make sure that when they walked in the door, they weren't 4 weeks behind. So we kind of talked through that process. We meet with the family, discuss the records, talk about what it is that we're seeing. We may see students that say they were in a world history class. As my history teacher over here, Mr. Easterwood, could tell you, and Ms. Wesley, who was a history teacher, world history can mean anything. So what'd you study? So we have those conversations. Did you start with the Greeks, or were you in the Renaissance? Where were you in world history? Were you studying the Congo? What is it that you were doing? So we try to figure out what classes they were in, because sometimes transcripts, even ours, are ambiguous. We have lifetime sports. What is that? You know, so students need to be able to explain what those things are. We discuss the graduation options based on the transcript. Your son or daughter is on track to graduate with 26 at non-master. No, your son or daughter can't graduate with 26 at non-master, and here's something that we need to talk about. We try to devise a plan at that time. We review any letters of recommendations. Sometimes teachers provide letter of recommendations from previous schools because of the academic ability of a student, and to encourage them to go into upper level classes, and we review those. If any testing is required, we look at that. Sometimes students come to us from homeschool and we're not sure about their placement, neither is their parents. So we have some testing to take place to make sure that we're getting them in the right academic placement for their grade level. We develop class schedules to meet graduation requirements and the personal goals of the student. As we talked about earlier, and you heard the Missouri School Board talk about the 4-year plans or personal plans of studies. We start having those conversations and we try to develop those and find out what the student is going to do, what their objective is in education. And along with the parents, sometimes they're not congruent. Counselors, as we get done and we meet this, if the students are with us at the beginning of the day, like this morning, we would have had one in. We find a student that is grade level appropriate, that is in our student-to-student ambassador. We assign a student-to-student ambassador to a student, whether they are military or civilian students, community students who are just moving in. everybody gets a student ambassador. They show them around school. They will work with them for anywhere from 2 days to a week to make sure they're familiar with the building. We try to always set them up so they have a lunch buddy, even at the high school, so they're not sitting alone. And so they get an opportunity to meet new individuals, find individuals, their likes. Our S2S counselors, we do training with them, or our advisors, ambassadors, to find out what their likes are and start integrating those with the people around the school. So our S2S ambassadors are very gregarious, very extroverted, and they know a lot about the other students in school. That may not be their peer group, but they do know who the kids are that like baseball, that like anime, that like theater, who like skateboarding, who like to do the various other things, who like to do motocross, who's in rodeo. So they got a pretty good grip on all of that. So that's kind of the quick process or review of what we do for new students coming into our school district. Are there any particular questions?
Mr. Maxwell, is there, like if an 8th grade student is coming in, I know that's not in the high school level, but is that, do you know if that 8th grade student is also reviewed on transcripts if they're transferring in here from another state or what have you? That wouldn't, is it possible for them not to have enough credits towards their high school 4 years?
We have some 8th grade students at the high school that come in with transcripted credit at the high school level. They predominantly they do come to us predominantly in math and Spanish. And so when they get to the high school and we see that where there's communication between us and the middle school, we have 8th grade students taking geometry and algebra 2 at the high school as 8th graders. So we coordinate that. And then when I work with counselors, when Ms. Wesley and I work with the counselors in middle school, especially during January and February about high school enrollment, we see a lot of that. The exact process, I forgot your last name. Ms. Scarborough may be able to talk to that.
Then that will get put on their high school transcript. Is that your question?
Well, that and to see if somebody's transferring out of 8th grade, graduating to 9th grade.
Oh.
Okay, from a different school, if that follows this process, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, now, if someone was to come in from another school that was from 7th graduating to 8th, is it possible that they couldn't meet then the 4 years after that to meet the graduation requirements?
If they come
Am I being clear on that?
Seventh to 8th grade is a little bit different requirement. Once they graduate 8th grade and into the high school, they're on track here to graduate. Well, provided they have a targeted plan and we set them up for targeted to graduate with 26 credits. What the exact review process is, Ms. Scarborough may.
So in middle school, the counselors will set up a 4-year plan of study. And if they graduate or enter junior high school or middle school here, they'll have all full 4 years of attendance at Mount Huster High School. So they would be expected to meet the graduation requirements of the state because they would have the opportunity to do so. In fact, they'd be obligated to.
That's basically what I was asking.
The opportunity to earn they have the opportunity to earn 28 credits during the 4 years they're in high school, and they need 26 to graduate. So there's ample opportunity, even if they don't have any high school classes in middle school, they still have all the opportunity to make sure they meet the graduation requirements.
But they can still.
Is that your? Sorry. Go ahead.
They can still gain credits at an 8th grade level for Algebra 1. So kids transferring in from out of state that are military, does that apply to them also, given the fact that they took Algebra 1 somewhere else?
Yes, if they come in with a high school transcript and they took a high school class in middle school, it goes straight on their transcript at our high school. Just like it would if they were transferring as a sophomore or junior, it goes straight on their high school transcript.
So given a school that has 22 credit requirements like New Mexico or say something like that, and this kid took Algebra 1 at a middle school level, would that apply to our district?
Yeah, we would give them high school credit for that. Yeah, no matter where they come from. If they earn high school credit, they get high school credit.
To help meet the 26.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. But we would, with the interstate compact agreement, we would still have to,
We would look at the
Graduate
state
them based on
graduation requirements where they were at.
right, we would have to do that.
Yeah, until a few years ago, Michigan graduated at 20. So when we had kids coming in here with, 16 credits into their senior year, they can't graduate, but if they stayed in Michigan, they could.
So why isn't there any legislation on the books that adopts it countrywide, saying that wherever you started high school, that would be the requirement for wherever you go?
Without looking at, the only one that I've really read in depth is our state requirements for that, and there talks about reciprocal agreements between states. There's, like, I think it's on page 10, third paragraph, talks about a reciprocal agreement between states that you can do that, and you can create a targeted educational plan for any student coming into the state of Missouri. So regardless of what their credit is, if we're looking at getting them on through their state process because they're moving in here their senior year and can't get to our 26, that's that targeted educational plan. And then that's our targeted, that's what we're working for in this is our graduation goal. Is what does it take that student to get from point A to point B? Now, passing those classes are contingent upon that graduation also. And when we do have those events, we write a letter to Ms. Morris, who presents that information to Dr. Wheeler. So right now, we have a handful of students that are graduating with less than 26 credits because they came in this senior year and then hit there, but we're honoring the program, the graduation track from your previous school.
I like one more thing, just because I have had this experience, it's not just the total number of credits, it's also by department. Like in California, you only need 2 math credits to graduate high school, but here you need 3. So if you have a kid coming in mid-senior year and they haven't taken math since their sophomore year, we're not gonna throw them in Algebra 2 in January. Does that make sense? So it's total number of credits and it's individual departmental requirements. So the interstate compact agreement covers all that.
Anything else? Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for that update. RFP District Auditor.
So pursuant to board policy DIE, the Navajo R8 school district will retain an independent auditor at the close of each fiscal year for the purpose of auditing and making necessary reports to the Board of Education and Missouri Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. Superintendent shall arrange with the independent auditor for an audit examination of all financial, transportation, food service, and attendance records of the district in accordance with state law. We are sending that out for proposals in the next couple of days, but just wanted to provide that as information to the board. And that is following the resignation of our current auditor. And that's for information only, no action required.
Vocational program evaluation.
And we would invite up our high school vocational teachers.
Got it. Yes, sir. Get a chance to show up. Every year we have to submit a vocational evaluation to the state, so it's our opportunity to kind of update you on our career technical programs. Would like to start off that through vertical planning this year. We have really been able to work, I think, strongly with the middle school and with our counselors and starting to reap some of the benefits of that. So we're going to push through the different programs. We're actually, one of the things that we do every year is that we hold the Pennies for Panthers, which all of the programs, we have a competition. This year we got colored. If we lost, for some reason, I lose a lot. But then we give the money to camper that is going through some kind of medical difficulties, and we were able to donate $750 to Nestor Day, who's dealing with kidney failure right now. We also started a student leadership team this year, kind of trying to drive that, and had training in the fall, right before school started, and that was with the NAT grant that we were able to use to buy those materials and get enough pizza to get the kids to come in. Did the 5K run, and there we were able to collect $800 and donate that to the Angel Tree. And then our follow-up was the leadership training that Colonel Sparks discussed earlier. So we're very appreciative of that. Project Lead the Way, where is Mr.?
He has a track meet tonight.
He has a track meet. Well, the highlight is we now have Project Lead the Way national certification. Woo-hoo! That was a long process, and Aaron's sweating that one a lot. So, but the kids are very excited about it. It provides a lot of good opportunities for them, and next year we'll be able to offer a full program at the high school, as well as Mr. Avery will be going to the middle school full-time, and he thinks that will also continue to build the numbers at the high school. Those are some of the activities. He's not here to speak to them. So I'm going to pass this off to Ms. Longman, who's in charge of our agriculture education.
Some exciting things happening in the ag program. First off, we're having our annual plant sale starting next week on Monday. So all your plant and vegetable needs, come see us. Next year, I will be back at the middle school for 2 hours. So far, enrollment looks like 34 students, give or take. So hopefully those numbers will stay up. I'm really excited about that. I'm really looking forward to get back in the school garden. The kids really seem to love that. So, and I love it too, to get outside. We're going to do some hunter's education stuff, introduction to plant science, all that fun stuff. I'm switching up the classes a little bit. You can keep going, sorry. Normally what I offer is Ag Science 1, which focuses on introduction to FFA and animal sciences. And then the next year, they're going to take Ag 2, which focuses on the plant sciences. But in order to offer our students some more choices their sophomore through senior year, we're combining the Ag 1 and Ag 2 class into Introduction to Agriculture. So first semester, we'll do Intro to FFA and some animal sciences. And then second semester, we'll focus on that plant sciences, soil science, forestry, entomology, those kind of things. The new numbers for that, I have 18 enrolled in that class, and that is very exciting. I'm looking forward to that. I have a great mix of students from freshmen all the way to seniors. So I'm really looking forward to that. I'm keeping the Ag 2 for next year, so those students who are in Ag 1 now can still get that plant science unit done. And I have 3 students enrolled in that class. The new class that we're going to be offering is Turf and Landscape. I'm really excited. Hopefully we'll get some landscaping done around the school. I'm hoping maybe a little bit of a putting green for golf. Kind of have some ideas brewing in my head. Don't hold me to that. But enrollment is looking like 4 students for that class. And then of course our greenhouse class, which does the poinsettias in the fall semester, and our plant sale, the spring bedding plants going on now. And the enrollment for that class is, I'm going to say 4 or 5 for that class. So good numbers, looking good. I'm really excited to be back in the middle school. I love that experience. I love those kids, and I'm really looking forward to that. And of course, we have FFA on our next slide. We've been really, really busy this year doing a lot of fun things, some community service activities. We had the Highway Patrol come in and do a safety presentation for students. We did a Veterans Flag Day sale and were able to donate some money to Camp Valor Outdoors, which is a local facility in Kingsville, Missouri, that does activities for wounded veterans. And taking 2 students going Thursday and Friday to Columbia on Mizzou's campus to state FFA convention. So there's a lot of leadership opportunities and things for those kids. So having a great year, gonna end strong, and we're really excited and looking forward to next year.
I have a couple questions for you.
Oh, yes.
Last year, we approved 2 different classes.
Yes.
And I don't see those on the,
Yeah, they didn't make as far as enrollment numbers. Since I'm only allowed, well, not allowed, I'm only offering 4 classes at the high school and 2 at the middle school, so that's 6 classes. And so as far as what I can offer, I want to have that greenhouse class because we do have the greenhouse facility. I think it's important that, that's a really great lab for us. And then I have to offer a class for those kids who are going to be seniors who have taken all of the other options. So that's where that class falls in. And then, of course, I have the intro and then the Ag 2 class. However, the next school year, I will be only offering that intro to Ag class. So then I will have 3 of those options, higher level Ag class options for sophomores through seniors to take. So that's the point of like combining the Ag 1 and Ag 2 classes into that one to give them more options when they're sophomores.
so they'll get more of the financial aspects of it at that time? Because that was one of the classes.
Yes, I'm doing the personal finance class now, but it's the Ag-based personal finance. So hopefully, we can bring that back in the following school year when the schedule kind of expands a little bit. So.
Okay, for our FACTS program, we have the intro class. So this year and next year, I'll have 2 sections of the intro class, which is called Career and Family. So that's a little bit of everything again, so they can decide where they want to go after that. Currently, enrollment, the last time I checked was 38. And it will change depending because kids are still going into the counselors to change their schedule. And then they can go 2 variety of ways. One way that they normally go is child development, so learning about the family system and how children grow. The first class for that is regular child development, and has 1 section of that, and it's about 20 students, 19 currently, I think. And then the second class for that is advanced child development, and we connected that with the independent study during my plan period so that they could be at that secondary level, learning how to become a preschool or elementary teacher. They were going to Ready, Set, Grow for the whole year. They've been doing that this year and last year. This upcoming year, which is exciting, I've contacted Head Start in town, which is a national state agency, and we actually went to partner with them so the kids can go to a local daycare and see how a local owner would run their place, and then we're going to go to a state place to see how they kind of help children grow and their special needs, and there's certain requirements to go to Head Start, so they'll kind of learn about that. So right now for next year, I believe there's 3 or 4, not 5 anymore. And then the other way that they could go is foods class. The first foods class is nutrition and wellness. Currently have around 18, and there'll be 2 sections on that. And then after nutrition and wellness, they can go to international and specialty cuisine, and currently about 9 to 12 students in the second. And then our student organization is FCCLA. This year we have 70 students, so it ranges about 70 to 80, depending on activity level. This summer, in July, I'm taking 3 executive board members to San Diego for the National Leadership Conference. So they get to go experience leadership training, and that they'll have to go do a course and take a test, and then we're going to learn about STAR events, which is our competition. I've never been able to have kids that I guess wanted to do it, and I haven't had enough experience. So hopefully we'll learn about that, and I'll get to go train to do that. So.
In the business department, the biggest change we made a couple of years ago is that we started going live. So we kind of said, if it is, we'll record it. And we've been doing that. The business technology class, we have 2 classes in that. Digital media, we basically have like a 1 and 2, which we took website design, desktop publishing, and we just put it all together in one. We have a relationship with UCM that when we started that, we were able to offer a dual credit class and introduction to sports broadcasting. Next year, we'll be able to offer 3 dual credit classes One is media aesthetics, one is introduction to media technology, as well as introduction to sports technology. So that program's kind of growing and kids are buying into that. Can we move on to next? We're also starting to go deep. Our projects are growing, the kind of projects that the kids are able to do. This year, we actually partnered with the athletic boosters. They always would give the seniors a t-shirt, and they decided, and parents were buying posters kind of off and on. Well, our kids now design the posters, and then the athletic boosters pay us. The business department, and that offsets those costs. So we're able to cut the cost down in half for the parents, and the booster club is giving them a poster as opposed to their shirt. And these particular posters, these weren't the one, baseball. Well, bottom line is I ended up having jury duty, and they were supposed to be doing posters, and I showed up and they were tied up on the screen, so they were done. So kids learn a lot of practical things, not only doing the design, printing the posters, but meeting the deadlines. Because if they don't show up by senior night, you miss the deadline, you don't get to do it over. So we are going strong. We did receive, there you see some of the equipment that we received with our vocational education grant. Those are 3 very nice computers that handle suite for us and allows them to do a lot of the production and the editing with Photoshop. We also have another high-powered laptop that we're going to be changing our broadcasting laptop with, and I have one of those as well that the kids use to do their design. The kids like that. The counting class, all the classes use them. The teachers would like to use them. They like my computer spends. What is exciting is that we were able to offer accounting this year, and we'll have double the enrollment in that class for next year. We a lot of times we only get to offer it every other year. You did approve Introduction to Business, and that is going to Maine. That's a semester class that introduces kids to the world of business, types of businesses, some law, some HR law in there, as well as what are the different courses that they would take that would need to support that. We also changed business law, so as opposed to a full-year course, that'll be a semester-long course, and they or to those are going to go back to back, and both of those made. So we have a full program. We've increased the enrollment in the business department about 25 students for next year, which is about a 30% increase. And I put FBLA, back it up just a little bit, I'll just FBLA, we only have 15 members. We did have 11 compete at, 6 actually received medals, 2 went on and participated in state. We won't have those results until next week though. So they're going strong, and we're excited, grateful for your support. So that's your career program. I would again like to thank the middle school and the counselors for their efforts. We had an electives fair where we let the kids come in and look at all the stuff, look at the toys, look at the big computers, look at the rock the babies and different things that they got to do. And that really helps the kids get a visual of what those kind of courses do. And we think our enrollment's going to be reflective of that. So I appreciate the effort. It takes a lot of effort to put that kind of thing together. Questions? Thoughts? Thank you for your support.
Thank you. I make a motion to approve the vocational program evaluation as presented.
Thank you, ladies. All in favor?
Aye.
I failed to mention something. First of all, it's exciting to see the vocational programs and all that's going on and how we're trying to align those to our middle school, up to our high schools. So we're doing a very, very good job with our career ed alignment. And then also, since we do have members of the media here, just want to give you guys a heads up that, a few maybe, that we will have some information on our academic programming in the way of a NIMSY grant, which is embargoed right now, but you might reach out to Mrs. Morris in the near future, as she will have some exciting news to share on the academic side and college and career track. So just want to throw that in at that point. So a good 1-2 punch for our students for sure.
Is it possible to have hunter safety for the kids at the high school to go over to the middle school and join that class if they haven't had it?
Actually, yes, my last year at the middle school, Kayla Coolman, she's a senior this year, gonna be graduating, she had actually done all of you can now do the bookwork program online. So a lot of the kids will go into the online, you just have to go to a, like skills assessment training, and I bring, Mark Miller from Sedalia, who comes in and brings the, dummy firearms and dummy ammunition, they teach how to load and handle the firearm. Actually, Kayla, had parent permission, and she actually came over, the day that I did that, and she actually was able to participate in that, and then take the test to get certified. So she did all the work, the book work online, and then came in for that live session with, Mr. Miller. So, yes, it is possible.
Thank you. Board planning and development.
The board has a number of upcoming priority events. The following events are proposed and are presented to the board for discussion and input. First up is the board subcommittee for selection of an architectural engineering company. Recently, we published an RFQ for architectural engineering services. We received 4 responses, and there's a couple of ways that we can go about doing this. We could appoint a board subcommittee to review those documents, to participate in interviews and bring forward a recommendation. The second way is to include the whole board in that interview and selection process. My recommendation, just because of the scope of the importance of that selection and what that entails, if we were to move forward with any major projects, we're talking about a broad level of responsibility and financial impact. So my recommendation would be that sit in on those interviews. Again, we received 4 proposals, and we probably can narrow that down to 2 or 3 finalists. Those would run, we could easily do those within an hour apiece. So I'd like to ask the board if we could look at calendars and select a couple of dates between now and the 27th, where we could run those interviews, and we could do that if that's a possibility. If not, we can move that back, and we can do that most likely during the day or evening.
Any discussion? It's open for discussion.
I would say if we could just do it just as quickly as possible to try to get that out of the way.
I'm sure we can make ourselves available.
Okay, it wouldn't require the whole board, but I would prefer that we have a quorum as the majority of the board, just again because of the significance of that decision.
It's 27 is good for me.
Yeah, I would like to be on that committee if I could.
Well, we all are.
He's asking for the whole board to be there.
Well, if everybody can't, I want to make sure that I'm on it.
Okay. So it sounds like the 27th would work. Any input on that from the rest of the board?
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Are you proposing at 9 or Wednesdays?
We could probably make it work either way. Well, usually it's in the evening. Is there anyone that can't make the evening of the 27th?
I would prefer during the day, but I can make it.
Okay.
I have no, either way is good with me.
Yeah, it doesn't matter with me either. I can do it either way.
Okay. 27th.
Anticipate 2 hours.
I would say, I would think we could limit it to probably 3 finalists, possibly 2, and run them easily within an hour apiece. So I would look at 3 hours max. We could probably even do some sandwiches for you guys if we do it over lunch or dinner. So
How big is the package that was submitted?
I'll have a copy for you guys at the end of the meeting for everyone to review. And they're anywhere from probably 20 pages to 30 pages apiece. And then all of the needed information is in policy and procedure in terms of scoring rubrics. So it's come in and paperwork will be there, but certainly you have a chance to review that leading into that interview process. So it sounds like the 27th with preference during the day. Mr. Hughes, if you have any preference? Okay. Or evening?
I would prefer late afternoon.
And then can we set an alternate date as well, just in case there's one of the finalists that can't make that? That'd be up to you guys. Any other day next week. That's a Wednesday. Would we want to look at a Thursday or Tuesday? Tuesday?
Don't you want those together from October 27th?
No, they've already closed. So
Well, you said the interview should occur between the 18th and
Oh.
27th. Wednesday is the 27th.
oh, gotcha. So we want to set 26 as the alternate. Okay. All right. I will reach out to those respondents and we'll go from there.
You said there could be one that would beat out or two.
I think there was. I was planning on going through the scoring guide and just as an administrative review, and then we can determine if we want to. There were a couple that appeared to stand out a little bit more so than the others.
Should we go through that?
I was planning on getting some feedback from the board on that, and then when I provide those to you, I'll provide an administrative review as well. So we have the 27th as well as the 26th as an alternate. So thank you on that. Next up is attendance at the MSBA Spring Regional Meeting, which will be held May 2nd in Sedalia. That is at 5:45. I think Sedalia is hosting that. I know Mrs. Davis has expressed that we plan to attend. Are there any others that we plan to attend?
Are you going?
Maybe. There's a conflict that night, I believe, with our graduation over in Warrensburg Career Center, but I'll make a decision to attend.
Yeah, because I'd like to probably go too.
Okay. So, I believe if 5 or more attend, then the board gets placed into a drawing for a scholarship. So a little peer pressure would certainly be welcome, at least so we could be in that drawing. But if we don't make all 5, if we don't have that quorum there at this meeting, we can shoot for the fall meeting.
I should go with it.
No pressure. I am counted as one of the 5, so it's at 5:45, and I will. That's pre-reg. And then I want to say it's at the Smith Cotton Junior High School. Okay. So, Mary Ann, Dan, Larry, myself.
I need to make sure that the location is.
Okay.
Is that the night?
Yes. So that gives us the 5 attend.
So we could be down small.
Okay, thank you. Okay. All right, thank you. Next up is the budget work session. We're proposing that we do that on the evening of May 25th from 6 to 8. That would be the intent on that is to present the board at the May meeting with an initial budget, allow the board a week or so to review that budget and then provide feedback at that budget work session. Again, May 25th from 6 to 8. Any comments on that?
I'm good.
Last but not least, we have typically a board retreat in the summer to do planning and prioritization for the upcoming school year. We're proposing that we run that on Monday, June 13th from 8 to 4 with a location to be determined. The agenda for that meeting would be planning and prioritization and goal setting for 2016-2017. Final input on any budget changes, and we're doing that ahead of that June regular board meeting. Leadership development, and then a strategic planning kickoff for the district with a SWOT analysis. That will involve the board as well as our administrative team. And I do, for the new board members and for returning board members, last several months, we've been pretty respectful of trying to stick to one regular meeting. And I know this is a lot on your table, but it covers out the rest of the school year.
Good.
All right, well, let's read out the revenue.
Sounds great. We can talk about that. We may do something offsite, or we may bring and do that here locally. So we'll secure a location and let you guys know. Okay, thank you. Summer school update. Mrs. Williams was not able to attend with us this evening, but she did ask that I present her information, and we're going to just do a very quick overview. A tiered student incentive program will be used again this year to help drive student attendance. We will provide again, as we did last year, $100 to each student with perfect attendance, $75 for any student that misses time up to 1 day, $50 for missing up to 2 days. And on the first couple of days of school, the students fair warning that attendance to get kind of for the full day, that they need to be present for the full day. So try to set those expectations up front. It's exactly identical to, as I understand, to how we did it last year. Enrollment today is as follows: Whiteman Elementary 152, K&E 199, middle school 93, high school to be determined. And last but not least, curriculum for summer school continues to be written. A final draft will be presented at next month's meeting. We do have the summer school curriculum objectives attached, as well as some supporting documents. And this is an action item. We're asking for the board to approve the curriculum objectives as presented.
Is the perfect attendance, is that based on per day, or is it broken down into hours?
I think it's per day. We're wanting them here for the full day. But then the tiered system, if they miss up to a total of 1 day, I think they do a cumulative.
So it is by hours?
I don't think so. I think if they're absent, like if they miss half a day, then that counts as their day out, I believe. And I'm getting a confirmation now on that. So you can't miss like 7 first periods a day and count that as 1 day. Well, not you, but I could, because that would be very tempting during summer.
Right, okay. Thank you. I make a motion to approve summer school objectives as presented.
Well, it's a second. And so, discussion on that, how can we approve the curriculum when we haven't seen it yet? I know we've seen the objectives, but.
Isn't that what we're approving, the objectives of?
Well, I know, but we're not gonna be presented with this until next month, when summer school starts, the week after, our board meeting.
Well, isn't
The timeline's pretty tight there.
Well, the curriculum is, is that not, I don't think, is that something that we would approve? We're approving the objectives, but the curriculum is what they would write off of the objectives, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
So,
I think it's somewhat fluid because probably isn't written in stone yet. I mean, that could, some of this stuff's gonna change between now and then. Didn't you say so?
I would. I mean, I know mine changes.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we're pretty much adopted curriculum.
The objectives and then, and the curriculum is written off of that, so.
So do we know how the numbers compare to last year?
Numbers compared to last year, I think we're trending very close to last year from what I understand. I do not have that comparative information. But I believe I know our principals are working very hard to, there's some friendly, quasi-friendly competition going on between Whiteman Elementary and K&E to try to drive that student enrollment. So we feel pretty good about that, as well as the incentive. And I'm sure there's going to be some kind of pie in the face or dunk tank or something. I just know those two. So we feel pretty good about where we're going. Also, to that point, for summer school, we will be offering ES extended school year services for our special education students, and we're going to see, we do anticipate seeing increased enrollment in that area.
And do we know what we're offering in high school yet?
High school offerings, do we know what we're offering in the high school yet?
Yes.
Okay. Credit recovery.
You wanted to know what those are. Oh, sorry. The credit recovery will be offered, and then we
On personal finance, health, and personal fitness. We have probably 60.
How about like math or anything like that to help?
Their credit recovery is all that we have at this point, yes. And also student leadership for ROTC.
So credit recovery would include somebody that was having difficulty in math?
Yes.
Or reading?
Yes.
Language arts?
Is that going to be mandatory or is that elective
What do you mean?
for credit recovery?
Is it mandatory? No, it's never mandatory. A student has the opportunity to get ahead and not have to take it again in the fall or the spring. They can do it during the summer. But it's not, no, we can't make that mandatory.
So is that gonna be actual teachers or is that gonna be an online program?
It's an online program with a teacher facilitating and A+ tutors as well.
Is there any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. That is it.
From the recent discussion with members of the board as well as high school administration, we've been investigating the reestablishment of the driver's education program in Non-Western High School. Driver's education was last offered in the 2010-2012 school year. That was a long year. Sounds like my senior year of high school. The board was adopted as a result of a variety of considerations. The program was dropped as a result of a variety of considerations. From what I'm understanding on that historical perspective, aging vehicle, retiring instructor, budget cuts, competing program offerings, students being pulled in different directions, as well as an attempt to drive participation in other electives and academic programs by eliminating this program. I learned that this course was awarded a 1/4 credit, as the students would be engaged in driver's education about half the time of the semester and would be assigned to a study hall in the library the other half of the time. Over the last few days, high school counselors have inquired about students' interest in driver's education. At this time, just prior to the meeting, I was told that we have 3 students that have expressed interest in driver's ed during the regular school year. For summer school, I think we have 6. I'm seeing a nod back there, but I'm seeing a yes nod from our principal and a no nod from our custodian. So I'm going to go with the principal on that one. So from what the principal reports to me, we have 3 students that expressed interest in enrollment in driver's ed during the school year, 6 that have expressed interest during summer school. To respond to that student feedback, we've looked at a couple of options. UCM offers a summer program for local students in driver's education. The cost of that program is very reasonable at less than $300 per student. At this time, at this point in the year, the recommendation is that we go with that UCM program during the summer, and then we look at all alternatives to providing that program based on student demand and feedback. Below is the historic numbers over the last few years, and these came from our high school counselors. You can see that there was a decline, a slight decline in numbers during that time. During the 11-12 school year, the district did not offer driver's ed during the summer, but you can see that we still had about 40 students that were taking that class during the first and second term. So I think what we need to do is take a closer look and see how we went 3-4 years ago from having 40 students interested down to having 3 students right now. And I know that the initial feedback is a couple of things. The program isn't offered, it hasn't continued, and the interest has dropped somewhat. But the other feedback at this time is that there are just too many other competing interests, like the vocational programs that we've heard, like the AP courses that we're adding, and some of the other options that may have led to that as well. So again, recommendation is to enroll our 6 interested students in the program at UCM for the summer and take some time to evaluate the need moving forward.
I think that the lack of interest is because the parents don't know. Once the parents know, I think the interest will go up. Because I had all 3 of my daughters taught by somebody else, and it was quite relieving. Of course, he aged very rapidly, but no, I just if we get this thing kicked off the ground, I think that the show of force will come out in it, and because of insurance reductions and really with all the texting and all the other stuff that's going on in the vehicles now, lack of attention, I just really think this is a class or a course that we need to pursue in all avenues to make this happen within our district again. I know a lot of districts have dropped it. I don't know why, but many districts have dropped this program. But I just really think that it's a program that we should pursue. Because if you look at the numbers, 2007-8 was 61, 8-9 was 67, 9-10 was 65, 10-11 dropped down to 60, and of course 39 and 11-12, but that was because the summer was lost, like you said.
Right.
So that would have been 40, so that would have been 15, 20, almost 20 kids, and which was carrying in the other summers. I just think that if, I think it can happen. I think it's viable, and I've been talking to Cliff Harris, Warrensburg Chrysler, and Warren Harris, Warrensburg Ford, but also on various avenues of car purchase and so forth. I know that we can't just get it from, unless he give it to us. But he's looking at different programs and different avenues of see if there's any federal programs or if there's any corporate sponsored programs that would help us with that vehicle. Now for the summer program, I realize it's really short, and I understand what you're saying there, but he's the one that provides UCM with the vehicles and for free. And he said that he could possibly do that for us too. It may be just too late to make that happen right now, things that we don't have an instructor.
Well, it's encouraging. I know Mr. Vendilla, you and I have talked about this over the last couple of weeks, and it's encouraging to have a board member engaged, or because of your passion, because of the focus on students and their safety. And I mean, it's very much appreciated, and we're hearing you. One of the things I know that the counselors have reached out to students, but I think you make a good point in regard to education of the parents. And one thing that we might look at doing here in the next week or so, or if not before, we may send a message out to parents just to make them aware that we're investigating that, and ask that they contact and see where we're at. Again, it's a balance on this because our students, they're going to have to choose. If they take this course, they're going to, by default, have to choose not to take another course. And we have to be, we have to be aware that that will have an impact on, potentially have an impact on enrollment in some of our other courses. So, but again, it's a safety and wellness issue, and I think the concern is well placed. It's very timely, and I remember taking driver's ed before we had cell phones, and it was hard enough. And you put a 16-year-old with a phone in the steering wheel, and it's definitely a concern. So we will continue to look into that, and if we do get that interest, then we'll see how we can build that into the program.
What did it cut into? Well, Mr. Stockdale, can I ask you a few questions if you don't mind?
Sure. One thing I wanted to say, the numbers look low, but that was all I could have in class because to get the requirements that the state asked for, which is 30 hours of classroom time with 6 hours of driving, I could only have 7 in the classroom at the most. See, now we've gone through the different periods, and now you can have 10 in the classroom. I know a lot of times, Ray, we got I can't have them. I said the kids to get the hours done, not to teach, but to get the hours done.
Now, was there like an alternate class that your driver's ed was offered in conjunction with that you could pull them out of, or how did that work? Or was it just an elective class?
It was elective. There was some, I think there was one class that they took one semester, then they could take driver's ed the next semester. If I had 7 kids in a class that period, 3 of them would drive, and then 4 of them were usually put in the library, and they had instructional. And then, in fact, we did win an award on that, Ms. Ball and I, the state award collaboration deal. We had a project for them to work on. So it wasn't just you go and you leave. I'll take these 3. They had problems, or they had assignments to work on dealing with driver's ed. But there was, I thought at one time there was corresponding. They took something one semester, and then they came back and they could take driver's ed. Ray can say more of that.
We tried to, it would sit across, depending on how the schedules, it would line up against a PE class that lifetime sports or weights, which doesn't have a semester prerequisite, or it would line up against psychology and sociology, our independent semester classes. We would try to line that class, those types of classes, where you see the number, or like after 2009 and 2010 up there, the number 4, that was offered 4 times, for 4 periods that year. So like first semester, as Mr. Stockdale said, out of those 28 kids first semester, so that's 4 periods a day that's got to line up against something to keep the schedule manageable. Yeah.
So is that still a possibility in the tempo of school now, or?
Back then there was block scheduling. Now we have period scheduling, 7 periods. You just have to see where it fits. And then wherever it fits, the students that are selecting to go into it at this year's scheduling request, will have to figure out what they're going to sacrifice for that semester, and then what does that do to the rest of their schedule. So they and their parents will have to have a conversation related to what it lines up against. It might line up against their favorite class or a required class that can't move. As they get older, classes get harder and harder to fit, believe it or not. Freshmen are the easiest people to schedule in the world.
The other component in that is, it's not a major consideration, but it is of consideration, is the declining enrollment at the high school. As you look at, I don't know where the enrollment was at that time, but it was higher, and that impacts enrollment, but it also impacts the flexibility of the schedule because of how the staffing that we had at that time. We had, I believe, we had 3 PE coaches, and Mr. Stockdale was offset with driver's ed and either health or PE, I believe. I think that's what I was told. So it's it's interesting. It's a very good thing with very, the rationale is very good, and I think we need to gather some more input from parents, teachers, and then as we discuss this, my recommendation to the board is going to be directly reflective of the recommendation brought to me by the high school principal. So if we have any input from Coach Stockdale, from Mr. Lang, anybody else in the audience that's interested, Mr. Vendilli, if we can get in parents and students, if we can get all of that information channeled through our counselors on the schedule, through the building principal to me, then that's will be reflected in the recommendation that I bring forward to the board.
If we send these kids over to UCM, how many get there?
We probably will transport them, so there will be some costs associated with that.
And I know that I've had a conversation with Mr. Pendilli in reference to the hazards and dangers out there in today's world with these young adults driving, cars and all the electronics devices and the number of accidents that you see, occur in today's world. So, which is something that we brought to Dr. Wheeler's attention, and having a discussion about it. I know it's a little late in the game, as far as even thinking about adopting something for next year, but maybe later on down the road, we can look at it. There's some open discussion.
If we get overwhelming feedback, especially after reaching out to the parents, then we will respond. That's the way it goes, and we'll look for options. So I have confidence in our ability to do that, and that's how we proceed. But we would like to go ahead and move forward. We do have a response from students that they want to take this during this summer, and would like to respond, and by enrolling them in that program that's already established and ready to go.
Well, if you allow the conversations that we've had, now we've at least identified a school over, class program over at UCM, and before I didn't even know that existed. Thank you.
Thank you. And again, Mr. Vendilli's done a lot of back work. He's got us lined up for a vehicle and some possible sponsorship. So if we do get that interest, we'll be ready to go. So thank you again.
Well, I think with the way it's going right now, I think we're almost responsible to send the 6 students to UCM for the summer. Because I just don't think that there's any way that we could make this happen in the next month and a half on our own. We could probably make it happen, but it would be tight.
I feel like it certainly would be a good thing to send these kids over to UCM. Sometimes it's difficult for the parents to teach these kids to drive. So if we can maybe connect with somebody that does a better job than mom and dad, it might be better off.
Connie, do you know the requirements for UCM? Do they have to participate? My concern is we're spending close to $300 to send a student there. I get halfway through the program, or a week later, my parents decide we're going to go on vacation. I'm not going to finish the course. Is there requirements?
Well, we could certainly make that a requirement, because at this point, the research that we have done, those students have to go enroll themselves and pay their fee, and then it would be the school reimbursing them for that fee. So we could certainly make completion of the course a requirement for the reimbursement of the fees. That would be a really easy solution to that problem, I think.
Or are they reimbursed then upon completion of the course?
Yeah, that's what I would suggest.
Yeah.
Would they have to provide their own transportation, or would we be able to line up a minivan for?
We could get them over there for sure.
Are they all done at the same time?
Yes, it's eight, not even their course. If they start at
It's,
it's during the same time as our summer
it's,
school.
it's the same time as our summer school. It goes 6 to 17 June. And the academic requirement that's in there for classroom time of 48 hours. And then there is X number of hours, I don't remember exactly how many hours it is, that they must spend driving, and then that is coordinated for the opportune times between the student and the instructors to make sure that they get those driving hours in.
Well, I definitely think we should make that a prerequisite before we reimburse them if they finish the
Finish the
course.
course, right?
And will the school will honor full credit then, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Well, one of the issues I have, Ms. Matthews, is if you ask these parents to come up with this kind of money, a lot of them are probably gonna say they don't have it. So is there an alternative way we can do this without, I mean, what do you do with kids that financially they don't have the money to do it?
Well, she's,
Well, that is not really, we're not just talking about this course. There's several opportunities for kids to take an AP course or exam that they have to pay for. And I've always made it very clear to the counselors to express to the students, I don't ever want money to be an issue. I don't ever want that to be the deciding factor for a student not to do something that would be in their benefit. So we would express to those kids, if you cannot pay for this course, but you really want to do that, you need to let us know and we will find the funds for you.
my recommendation is not to give them money. It's not to give it to them if they don't even finish the course. That's all I'm saying.
I'm agreeable with that, but what happens if they don't even have the money to pay?
Well, then she just got done saying she'll come to us.
We can take care of that.
Yeah, I make a motion that we send those six students to CM, or UCM, whatever it's called this week, to take the driver's education course during the summer. And I would like to also put in my motion that I leave it as an administrative decision on payment of the class.
But they finish the course.
And I don't
Well,
want,
I leave that, yeah, but I leave that up to the administration to decide that. I just want to make a motion that we send the 6 students, and in my motion to include that it be administratively decided on payment and completion, and let them handle that.
have we reached the cutoff date on signing up for the class yet?
No, the limit that we have is only 24 can enroll in the course. So we want to, if we're going to approve it, we want to get done pretty quickly so they can get in there and be one of those 20.
So just as a matter of procedure, this, so as a matter of procedure, this item type was for discussion and information only. For board requests, we really don't need a motion or directive of the board to do that. But if you'd like to make a motion, we can, but I would also ask that you amend that to include all students that express interest in enrolling in the course.
Well, I asked you to put this as an action item when I asked you to put it on the agenda. I don't know why you put it up as discussion, but I asked you to put it on as an action item, but it is what it is, I guess.
Well, so we're taking action on it. Go in major.
I did make the motion. I made my motion, but you said we don't have to. So whatever, I can withdraw it if that's. No, it's not all 24 kids from Knob-Noster. It's 24 total in the class. So she has to take action on it immediately to get our 6 into it. Is that what I'm understanding?
Possibly. I don't know if those classes fill or not.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
This class, I understand you receive a quarter credit hour, so it's considered summer school. Would the SA program be considered for those students that perhaps need a little monetary assistance?
That's a great question, and absolutely it would. It would probably be prorated to the quarter of the incentive.
That might get you some people interested.
That's a great suggestion. So we'll carry that forward.
So is there a second to Mr. Brindle?
I'll make a second on Mr. Pendle's recommendation and we leave it up to the administrative level.
Is this going to be capped at 6?
Well, we have to establish a cutoff,
Well,
because she's got to get those numbers in. So,
well, if we don't have to, we can leave it up to them, like we're leaving it up to them for the, if tomorrow 7 comes along and she can get 7 in there, we should just leave it up to them.
okay, I'll amend my motion to include as many kids as you can get in there between now and Monday or tomorrow to get them in there if it's cut off at 24. So there, I amended my motion.
And I'll still second the motion that we move forward in the direction of summer school at UCM.
All in favor?
Aye.
Again, thank you, Mr. Pendilli, and I apologize for the misunderstanding, and I'll definitely clarify motion time in the future. But all that aside, it's a good thing for kids, and again, we appreciate it, and we'll move forward as discussed.
2016-17 school calendar.
So earlier in the semester, we did a broad survey of input from teachers, and that led to the development of 2 options on a survey. Over the last several days, we took a vote on those survey options and added option A and B. These are the results of that faculty survey. And we had 104 responses. Of that, 71% or 74 respondents preferred option A. We had 10 respondents that preferred B. 17 that had no preference, and 3 that were undecided. Overall satisfaction with the calendar choice, we had 30% that were very pleased. We had 50% that, or excuse me, 47% that were pleased, and then went down from there. We did a new format for the calendar this year. We asked for feedback on that. We had about a quarter that were very pleased, and about 41% that were pleased, about 26% that were neutral. So that's the feedback, and as a result of the input on the calendar development, as well as the vote on the calendar option, I'm recommending that we move forward with calendar option alpha, which is this one right here. So it does look a little bit different. A couple of the comments that I want to point out on the calendar, we are starting a week later than we did this year. We're doing that for a couple of reasons. Sedalia and Warrensburg are 2 partner districts for several programs, including VOTAC, ROTC, and some special services programs. Sedalia does start a week later than us because of the fair, the state fair. This year, Warrensburg is starting a week later than us because of construction delays, as from what I understand. So we wanted to move back a little bit so that we only start a week ahead of them instead of 2 weeks. So that was one reason. The other reason is just to allow our administrative team to come back, have a little bit of extra time as we all come back to teachers to prepare for the year. Also helps with our custodial department to have a little bit of extra time in the summer following summer school to get our buildings ready. So that's one significant change. Another change, we moved from 4 pre-service days for all teachers. Actually, we kept the 3 there, but we didn't do the down day on the 17th. We ended up moving a PD day to the 11th. On that day, we did that intentionally to allow a 3-day weekend for our military connected families. That's somewhat of a step in the right direction, we felt. The only downside of that is not all of our staff is out. So our staff members who are military connected are still working on that day. And I did speak briefly with Mrs. Lundley, and we're going to speak in greater detail as we move forward in the years ahead, specifically regarding how we handle that Veterans Day. We will run our typical Veterans Day assemblies on that day prior. A couple of things, we had the 2 full weeks as requested at Christmas. We had the full week at Thanksgiving out, we had the full week at spring break. And we really wanted to come back on this Tuesday to start the new semester, or excuse me, this Monday, and bring students back on Tuesday, but that's a federal holiday. So again, it was tight, and it does move us back to bump Memorial Day to end the year. As mentioned, we're watching legislation to see if they drop the requirement to 1,044 hours, and that may have an impact on how we make up snow days if we had it. This calendar does reflect 170 student days, 180 teacher contact days, and 185 teacher contract days. And with the vote of the faculty and staff, I recommend calendar option alpha.
I make a motion to approve the school calendar alpha as presented.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, and we'll get this communicated out.
Budget amendment?
Pursuant to policy DBE, the board may revise the proposed budget prior to adoption and may make additional revisions as necessary throughout the year. Attached, please find an amended budget to reflect updated expenditures. Final amendment of the budget will occur at the June regular meeting. And I have attached that expenditure amendment, and that is reflective of the staffing that was brought on at the start of the year. A lot of that specifically was in our special services department to meet the needs of our special needs students. And we also had some additional staffing related expenditures. So recommend that we amend the budget as reflected.
I make a motion, we amend the budget as recommended.
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
2016-2017 budget, additional discussion?
As mentioned earlier, we will be bringing forward an initial draft of the budget at next month's regular meeting. I wanted to open up this opportunity for kind of a review of that timeline, as well as an initial opportunity for the board to provide any input or priorities into the development of the budget. I know some individual board members have come forward. We've had discussion with directors and administrators about needs, but just wanted to open this up for input. The timeline for budget development is as follows. Again, in April, initial input from the board on any areas of concern or focus. May, initial budget presented to the board, first draft. In June, we will do the board budget work session. At the June regular meeting, we'll do an adoption of the 16-17 budget. And then in August, we'll do the first amendment to reflect the closeout of the year. If there's anything unexpected. We keep our fingers crossed for impact date every June, so we'll see. That'd be a great pre-4th of July gift for the district, so we'll see how that goes. Again, the purpose of this agenda item is to allow the board the opportunity to express any concerns, priorities, or questions as we lead into that budget development. And not to put you on the spot, but certainly any board member can at any time send me correspondence, and then that can be discussed with the board. A lot of those thoughts probably are in alignment with what we've discussed and the thoughts that are brought forward by our principals and directors.
I guess one of the issues I have from last year's, and hopefully we can cut this down a little bit, is the long-range travel. I would like to see that sliced down to like a fourth of what we had in the past. If we need that kind of education for teachers or administrators, I would prefer that that be brought in-house for everybody to utilize, instead of 3 or 4 or whatever.
I know we mentioned that, and part of that travel was associated with the STEAM grant, which is coming to an end. Certainly, that has been duly noted, and it will be considered and most likely reflected in that next budget. So look for those changes.
The other thing I know we discussed briefly before was the maintenance budget of establishing a budget for maintenance. Maintenance folks to have their own chunk of budget without having to ask to go buy bulk or whatever. Sure. Lexi and have their own budget.
So Mr. Bazinga and I will definitely be meeting on that, not just on supplies and operational expenditures, but also on the capital outlay. And he's provided some pretty good input with the help of his head building custodians, and we will definitely respond to that suggestion as well.
So that the monies for that part of the budget will align to our facilities and maintenance plan.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Bazinga's already got everything fixed, so
You should have an easy summer.
I'd like to see the budget easier reviewed in the past. Very confusing the way it's been presented to us before.
current budget is somewhat misleading, given the number of pages in that budget, where different items are broken out on different areas of that budget seem to be the same items reiterated over.
Well, you could look on like page 2 for a budget item, but then on page 47 was the other part of that budget item. If it could be consolidated in some kind of form to where it could still be broken out. I know some of the stuff has to be broken out in different areas, but if it could be the overall, if it could be consolidated so you can figure it out in the consolidation, and then in the actual, have it broken out as it's.
Sure. And we're going to look with our financial software program. There's a couple of different ways that we can break that out. We can do it in the form of the annual Secretary of the Board report, which makes a lot of sense to us, but we can also do it broken down by program in a couple of different ways. In terms of budget presentation, there is an attachment here that I would encourage the board, especially our new board members, to review. And this is just basically a financial overview. Gives you a historical perspective over the last dozen years or so of expenditures, revenues. That's broken down in a number of different ways with comparisons. And that really, for me, definitely helps show us where we've been and kind of helps guide where we're going. But the readability, we'll try to keep that as straightforward as possible. School finance isn't the most intuitive, realm to jump into, but we will try to present that in a way that it makes sense. And if it doesn't make sense, ask. And between Katie and myself, if we can't answer that, then we'll go find the answer and make sure that we're clear on what the question is.
I would like to make sure on the travel part that we do afford the opportunity for these kids to go to places like California, like she was talking about, for these leadership things. I mean, let's just make sure that we do afford these kids the opportunity when it comes time for looking at travel.
That isn't what I was.
I know what you were talking about. I was just saying, I just wanted to make sure that we do.
By all means, I think that needs to remain, if not increase in that area.
I'd like to back up and we talk about the budget once again. I think what the overall general consensus is on the budget, simple is better. Just a simplified version of the budget as opposed to 60, 50, 60 pages.
I will put in no more than we have to make sense of it. But this is a format, again, try to take some time to look through this. You don't have to do it tonight, but sometime between now and next month, just get a handle on revenues within our tax levy, assessed valuation. We've marked in red can see the areas where we had decreases. So that's important. We try to break it down a number of different ways. And not that you have to memorize all these numbers, but just looking at the trend, so that we can kind of see where we're going. You can, I mean, it's clear where we can see those years, several years back, where we had, quite a bit of surplus in revenues from impact aid, and other sources. And, we can see that we're not getting that same funding now. So we have to be aware of that. The other thing is just our unrestricted reserve history. I want to talk about this very briefly. And I know I've communicated this out to the board, but that percentage is reflective of the amount of money left over as it compares to the total expenditure in operations for the district. So that's a moving number that can be impacted by two variables. One is the amount of money left over in hand, but the other variable is what was the total expenditure, because it's proportionate to that. So we'll see, some years where you have the same money on hand, but you've had less expenditure, which raises that percent. So we'll talk through that. And then the other thing on the unrestricted reserve history, you'll see some districts that put a lot of their money in Fund 1 where you get a higher percentage. Districts like Waynesville, they put a lot of their money in capital. You see them sitting on $30 million to support future building projects. So we need to just talk about strategy as we move forward, and that's really the discussion. And the most important input from the board is strategy, and why do we do that? Why do we put money in operations? Why do we put some in capital? What do we support? So anyway, look through this. Any input that you have along the way, please let me know. And we'll look forward to trying to put together a budget that makes sense to all of us.
Okay. L, M, and N to be tabled after the executive session discussion. We need a motion on that.
Isn't that what we amended at the beginning?
We did amend it. We still need a motion.
Just on L, that's actually classified pay scale. And what I expressed when we sent the agenda out, I shared with the board that I wasn't at that time quite ready to make a recommendation on the classified pay scale. I thought I would be by tonight, but we want to take some more time on that. And I want to very briefly speak to why. If you recall, last year there was a significant change made to the classified pay scale that was very favorable for employees new to the district through about mid-career. It was not very favorable for mid-career to late career employees of the district. So we want to do a couple of things. We want to make sure that we align that equitably to what we do for our teachers, but we also want to look at some kind of mechanism to try to, there was some very good work that was accomplished last year, but we wanted to try to kind of take the next step and make sure that we take care of those mid to late career employees. So that said, I'm not ready to make a recommendation on that tonight, and there's no time sensitivity to do so. So that'll be brought forward at the next meeting. But I want to make clear that is not tabled as a component of executive session discussion, but items M and N are. So no action on L, and then on M and N, the motion would be to table those following discussion. And just for the rest of the audience to be abundantly transparent, those two items are components of collective bargaining, and will be discussed in executive session under 610 021. What number is it? 9. Thanks.
So I make a motion that we move items M and N to executive session.
Table until after.
Just table until after executive session.
We need a second for that. Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moving on to old business.
So a couple of things here just for the audience. There's a chance that the board may come back out following executive session discussion on collective bargaining. There's a chance that the board may take actions on items M and N. We expect a 60-minute or less executive session. And if you want to hang around for that, you're welcome to do so. We have a number of items, but we should be able to get through in an hour or so. And then moving on to old business item A, we asked Mrs. Matthews to recuse herself from this discussion because it involves her local business.
Under local business, old business, this was a selection of prime vendor for hardware. And the recommended action is to select Matthews Ace Hardware's prime vendor for hardware based on our FP results pursuant to our board policy BBFA 2.
So just context on this, we did publish an RFP. That was published after thorough review and input from our district legal counsel. The sensitivity on this is Mrs. Matthews had expressed her interest in responding to that RFP, which she notified our board secretary of her intent to do so. In order for a board member to be awarded a bid, there are a couple of different ways people can be awarded bids. Sometimes it's the best bid, the best qualified bid, but in the case of a board member being awarded a bid, it has to be the lowest bid. So we did a market basket, and Mrs. Matthews did respond to that, and Matthews Hardware responded to that, and it was the lowest bid. A couple of other things that we want to point out, we did advertise this in 2 different newspapers, one that was local, one that was, I believe was the Kansas City Star, to make sure that we got widespread exposure. In addition to advertisement in the papers, we did send this, we made personal contact with the local businesses listed to make sure that they were aware of the RFP being let, to try to encourage them to respond. Those businesses contacted were Ace Hardware of Warrensburg, Ace Hardware of Sedalia, Economy Lumber, Lowe's, Matthews Ace Hardware, Menards, and Sutherland's. Again, Matthews Ace Hardware was the only respondent, and thereby makes Matthews Hardware the lowest respondent, and that's reflected in the recommendation.
Do I have a motion?
I make a motion that we accept the bid from Matthews Ace Hardware.
Second.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So we'll go down as a 6-0 vote with Mrs. Matthew being recused from that discussion.
And all this information is available on the website, correct?
Yes, it's attached right down here at the bottom. This is the response, and then the RFP and market basket that was published is available on last month's board docs.
As far as public information also.
Yes, it's all public and available.
Is there a way that in the future you can ask some of the locals why they didn't bid for future RFPs? Was it too complex? Not what they wanted to do?
Sure.
Just to give an understanding
Of why they did.
that we do have competition. That's
We could do that. I think that would be probably, especially on this item, that would be appropriate. I don't know how far down the hole of asking someone why they didn't respond, but I can see the value in that, so we can do that.
And there's always a possibility they thought maybe it wasn't enough money.
And it could be simple.
would adjourn. We'll be back in executive session at 25 after, please. So we can do.
I make a motion to adjourn to executive session pursuant to RSMO 610-0213, 13, 9, and 1.
Let's call for a roll call vote, so we'll start with.
I'll second.
Oh, second. So we'll do a roll call vote, so we'll start it. Aye.
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 Thank you.
25 after.
Oh.
This broadcast will resume after the return from executive session.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Still a beautiful day. Just bring a sit down here. Well, that one out.
Yeah.
Girls are up 5'8", 8'5".
They're up 5'8".
What?
Did you say they're up 5'8"?
So I might work. It's getting late. Nice.
Well, we need to open back on the session.
Okay, we're going back into public session, so we need to, by vote, have a motion to go into, public session.
I make a motion that we go into open session.
I second the motion.
Roll call vote. Tom? Aye.
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 So.
See, that's what happens. That's all.
I'm scared.
Yep.
Certified salary schedule. So we need to have a motion for the 2016-2017 certified salary schedule.
Can't hear you.
We need a motion for the 2016-2017 certified salary schedule.
I make a motion.
Can you guys see the language on that motion?
Make a motion to adjourn. Make a motion, sorry, I'm a little ahead of myself. Make a motion to, to approve. Oh, I'm sorry, make a motion to, to approve the classified pay schedule. Nope. Okay, thank you. My laptop's off. Okay, I make a motion to approve the 2016-17 salary schedule as presented, including a $225 base increase and assuming vertical and horizontal steps increase for all certified staff for the 16-17 school year at an estimated cost of $35,300.
I second the motion.
So for the discussion purposes on this item, as shared with the board in executive session regarding collective bargaining, we were anticipating a tentative agreement to have been ratified by tonight, and that did not occur. As expressed, the bargaining unit and the administrative team are in full agreement on that tentative agreement at this time, and expect that it will be ratified. But we're moving forward on a couple of these items because of their timeliness. We are required to notify teachers of their contracted salary amount by May 15th. The board will not have another regular meeting before May 15th. And that's the function of this vote. And then the vote that will be coming up next Regarding insurance, we moved back our enrollment period for employees as far as they can be moved back. And we're moving forward on the next item to allow our employees to enroll in their health benefits programs without any disruption to moving that back to where it might conflict with their time off during summer.
So if is there any further discussion on this? If not, I'll call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, the second one is the employee insurance. We need a motion to.
Aye.
I make a motion to approve health insurance plan as presented, including board paid premiums not to exceed $577 per employee per month at an estimated cost increase of $1,109. $109,300. Motion to approve dental insurance plan as presented, including board paid premium not to exceed $34.18 per employee per month at an estimated cost increase of $4,000.
I second the motion.
Is there any further discussion on this? If not, all in favor?
Aye. I make a motion that we adjourn the executive session at this time.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry, open session at this time.
I second it.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Look at that time, right?
Still past my bedtime.